certain number of days. That was 7 days. Then the commissioner had the power to decide it would be invalid. Sorry, the proposal would have been invalid. Sorry, the objection decision would have been, the objection would have been deemed invalid. Sorry. So obviously, by doing that, this is now again protecting the commissioner in this process by saying that if you did not provide any additional information, I lodged the notice of objection. I got a request for information from the commissioner. I only had 7 days as a taxpayer to give that information. Say I did not give that information within those 7 days, then the whole objection would be deemed invalid. So I would have lost out as a taxpayer in that process. So this again is not a good move because it's going to affect our taxpayers. 7 days is a very short period of time. So this proposal needs to be, because they're saying it will be automatically disallowed. So the objection, so it's protecting the commissioner, yet giving the taxpayer a very short window of only 7 days to provide the information. So this we need to strongly object to, that it cannot work like that. We need to we just propose that we delete this entire provision for now and let it be as it is, rather than asking for other things. This just tends to lead to mischief from the commissioner's side. So that's one provision we are saying we need to get rid of. There's another one under section 59 where if you fail to comply with a notice under this ETIMS, sorry, the ETIMS, the electronic tax regime, the DMRS, DMRS, the data management DMRS, yeah. There you would be required, so who is using the DMRS? It's the alcohol sector right now, who are now currently paying within 24 hours. I think there were also gambling sector as well, that is also in the same DMRS regime. Now here, they are proposing that if you do not fail to comply with this notice, they are proposing to charge you a penalty of 2 million shillings for every month. This is a huge amount of penalty for any taxpayer. And we are proposing that, tomorrow, because this is just the pilot projects have only started for alcohol and gambling, and they will be moving to the other sectors. So with such a high penalty, this is not going to be sustainable. Who can afford to pay 2 million a month? So we're proposing to change that to 100,000 shillings for every month that they fail to onboard this the system. So there is that. Now there's one provision here that they have proposed on clarification in terms of the number of days, whether Saturday and Sunday, is counted and not, in counting for the period in question. The only thing is to avoid ambiguity. Say, for example, if you have 30 days to lodge a notice of objection and they're saying public holidays, Saturdays and Sundays are not counted, then at least we have clarity. But now when it comes to filing a tax return, we're saying remove that, because it's just going to cause a lot of problems, because you have 6 months to file a return. Now in that 6 months, it could be viewed, I have X number of public holidays, it'll just cause a mess in terms of the due date for filing. So just keep it simple that when it comes to any other things except for tax return, you can use this timeline, but otherwise the timeline remains the same. That is, for tax returns, just to avoid a lot of issues when it comes to the ambiguity, because there'll be a lot of even filing of a notice of objection. Right now, the counting is very different by the Revenue Authority vis-a-vis the way we count our days. And we already have challenges with that at the moment. So just to create, consistency between the two parties, it's always good to remove areas which will just cause more confusion than not. So we don't want to get into the whole basis of always challenging the Revenue Authority on a day-to-day basis. And that brings me to the end of the submission. I'm open to any questions, comments, and we can always take more comments. This is, I know we've just started working on it. It's a bit still raw. It's a raw draft, as I would say. So if you have any further comments, please share.
Thanks, Gilna. I'm thinking that perhaps we go through the remaining parts of the presentation, and then we can then open it up to comments, input, and all that. As you said, there's a lot to go through. So, Josinetta, you can. I think I saw you on the meeting. There you are. You can go ahead on excise duty.
Okay, thank you, Rose. Allow me to share my screen. Rose, please confirm if you can see my screen.
Yes, I can see it. You can go ahead, and you're clear as well.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you. And good morning, all. My name is Josinetta Sengo. I'm a senior manager at KPMG. I'm in charge of excise duty and customs matters. So I'll be taking you shortly through the excise duty changes and also some of the recommendations that we are having that we'll be presenting to the Parliament for consideration. So under the Excise Duty Act, we see there are a few proposals, some of which we think they're very detrimental to the businessman, because some of them have actually very trivial impact. Again, we see the government is very keen on collecting more and more revenue. And we are trying to look at all these changes and see how do we come in to make recommendations that would be of benefit to both the government and also Kenyans who are in business. And the first change that is very major that we've seen being recommended is the removal of excise duty relief on accessible finished products. So Section 14 of the Excise Act provides that if a manufacturer uses raw materials that are accessible, either sourced locally or actually imported, then the excise duty that was paid during importation or sourcing of those materials locally, the manufacturer will be allowed to take a deduction when they are paying the excise duty on the final product. Yes, the government will be able to collect more, but we are looking at eventually what will happen to these goods. And I think this has been clear in the last 2 or 3 years, where the government actually had stopped putting or rather increasing excise duty on alcoholic drinks, because these are the goods that are actually majorly affected by this change, because despite there being an increase in the past, we've seen collection of excise duty kind of remaining at a plateau, because yes, there is increase of excise duty rates, but they were not leading actually to an increase in the revenue that is collected from that. This is also despite the fact that most of the goods that are affected by this change are usually display elastic demand. So it simply means that the tax rate are actually discouraging the consumption of those goods despite them having elastic demand. So we are suggesting, or we are proposing to the Parliament to have this proposal deleted, because eventually when you look at the compounded effect of this change, it will mean less sales eventually, and also more duties paid by our taxpayers, which could be counterproductive from both a consumer perspective and also the manufacturer's perspective. Again, there is a proposal And this one is a good one, but the wish would be if they could actually increase the date. So manufacturers of alcoholic beverages from last year, July, were expected to be actually accounting and submitting excise duty within 24 hours, which actually became a tall order for the manufacturers because they were expected to comply within 24 hours, which only meant they had to increase the number of staff who would be doing those reconciliations on a daily basis, or actually invest in technologies that could assist them in complying with this. And this became a bit cumbersome. So a change from 24 hours to 5 working days is a good and welcome move. Question is, can it be extended further just to be like it used to be before by the 20th? Because when it comes to selling goods, especially the alcoholic beverages, most of the manufacturers do not actually get paid immediately they sell the goods. So it only means that the manufacturer will actually be getting into their accounts and actually paying for the excise duty for goods that they have not actually received payment from the people they supplied the goods to. So our submission is the government to reconsider this to align with the normal business practices. Again, the government is proposing to introduce excise duty for services offered by non-residents through digital platforms. These include things like advertisement through digital platforms like Facebook, Instagram, and the likes, and also gaming. And this one, it's an okay suggestion because a lot of advertising actually is going into those platforms. And I believe it's only fair that we all get into the net of paying what is due to the government. Because if you advertise through the televisions, you're charged. So given that advertisement through the media is on the rise, the government is looking into increasing the base from those services. Again, a welcome move. There is introduction of duty remission, excise duty remission for spirits that are manufactured using locally grown products, agricultural products like sorghum, and also things like potatoes. And I think this would be a great move because it will encourage farming on a large scale, and especially on potatoes that we as a country have a great potential to farm. Again, a very controversial proposal on excise duty on motorcycles that are electric. The proposal or the bill proposes to have only motorcycles that are electric taxed an excise duty rate of either 10% of 12,952 Kenya shillings. This is an interesting one because if you look at the other sections of the law, the VAT, you'll see that the bill is proposing actually to exempt from all those taxes the motorcycles that are electric. But on excise duty, they actually propose to have only the electric motorcycles charged. So our proposal on that is actually to align this with the other sections of the law or the other taxes to have the motorcycles electric motorcycles actually exempted from excise duty and actually maintain the status quo that was there last year. Moving on to other specific areas that were affected, the government has been very keen on ensuring that Kenyans have access to internet. And if you see, there is a push to have everyone in the country able to access internet, and this is in line with what is happening globally elsewhere. This was also a good gesture that was done last year, and our proposal is to have the change done away with, to have the rate maintained at 15%, which was introduced last year, and delete the proposed 20% increase on excess duty on telephone and internet services. Again, as my colleague has said, money transfer services, both by banks and the cellular mobile service providers, there is a proposal to have an increase of excise duty from 15 to 20%. Then the question is, we are moving towards a digital economy. We are encouraging everyone to be on board the digital way of doing things. And we are increasing the excise duty on these services. Isn't it not counterproductive on some of the things that the government is looking forward into achieving, including having mama mbogas back home able to access money transfer services online? So we are proposing that we have the rate at 15% and do away with the change to 20%. There are also changes, proposed changes on excise duty on betting, gaming, prize competition, and lottery, from 12.5% to 20%. Again, in line with the medium tax strategy from the government, the bill proposes to have excise duty on alcoholic beverages charged on the pure alcohol that is contained in any kind of alcoholic drink. And I think this would be a great one because it is aimed at reducing the effect or the impact of the alcohol content in particular drinks, because most of the time the drinks that have more health effects are the ones that have higher alcoholic effect. And this is actually in line with what initially excise duty was meant to achieve. Initially, it was only introduced as sin tax for items that actually are harmful side effects to the community. And the change from charging the excise duty per liter to per centiliter of pure alcohol will be a great move into achieving this. Nevertheless, it is good to note that there are some items where the excise duty will go up and others will be dropping. For example, beer, ciders, because of the alcoholic content, the excise duty rate actually will be going up. Other spirits, the tax rate will definitely be going up because of the alcohol content. So again, there is a proposal to have coal, whether imported or sourced locally, to be charged excise duty rate at the rate of 5% or 27,000 Kenya shillings per metric ton. On this one, the government is looking at the negative impact of coal to the environment, and is in line with one of the core reasons why excise duty is actually charged. But on this one, as KPMG, we have a proposal to have it changed, because when you look at the price per metric ton of coal, actually the excise duty rate will actually be on the higher side. So it will only means that importers or those who source it locally will be paying more tax than the price actually they bought the item at. So we are proposing a lower rate that should be charged on the same. An interesting area is on the vegetable oil that my colleague has talked about on the bread. We are proposing to have this actually deleted from the proposals, because if you look at cooking oil, it's a necessity in every household. So introducing cooking oil, excess duty on cooking oil, it only means that every single household will be greatly affected. And it could even mean some of Kenyans will be unable to afford the cooking oil that is actually needed in every homestead on a daily basis. So that's it on excise duty. Now we move to the Miscellaneous Fees and Levies Act. And the first proposed change is on the import declaration fee. Last year, the government actually reduced the IDF fee rate. But now we're seeing a proposed change, which is actually the highest the IDF fee has ever been. So there is a proposal to change this to from 2.5 to 3%. Again, the bill also proposes to have change on how these fees are utilized. Section 7 of the Miscellaneous Fees and Levies Act provides for the collection of IDF, and it further provides of how some of the funds of the IDF should be utilized. So it provides that 10% of the amount collected as IDF will be utilized in Kenya's Fund for Africa Union and other international bodies where Kenya is expected to have obligations, financial obligations. So the 10% that is collected from IDF, the bill proposes to have 10% of that go into the Africa Union costs, and 20% of the same to be utilized in enforcement measures. Enforcement in the matter of the fact that the government is looking into collecting more taxes, as well as actually looking for more areas where they can be able to collect. Now, the question and the clarity that we seek in our proposal is where the rest of the amount will be going to. So we see there is a bit of the gap, because the 10% that is collected, 10% of that is going to Africa Union, and 20% is going to enforcement measures. What we are proposing is the 70% that is remaining of that 10%. There is no clarity of where it is going, unlike the previous provision, where the whole of 10% was going to Africa Union operations. So our proposal is to get clarity on that, or at least have the full amount clearly defined. 10% goes to Africa Union, the rest 90% goes to enforcement measures. Again, a great move in line with fighting malaria in the country is removal, or rather exemption from IDF and railway development levy for materials and machinery that will be used in the manufacture of mosquito repellents. Moving to the two very interesting and I don't know to say controversial, because from the way I view these two changes, that is the Export and Investment Promotion Levy and the Eco Levy, is that the cost of doing business in the country is each single day going higher. The question is, at what point will it stabilize? Is it sustainable? Are there other ways that we could ensure that we collect more, but not burdening already those of us who are paying these taxes? So last year, during the Finance Act, the government proposed and actually enacted under the Miscellaneous Fees and Levies Act, introduced a new schedule to the Miscellaneous and Levies Act, where anybody importing certain goods into the country was supposed to pay Export and Investment Promotion Levy at the rate of either 10% or 17.5%. The current bill proposes to actually repeal that schedule and introduce a new schedule that has new items listed there on which this levy will be collected. And amongst the items is articles of leather. This means any item that you import that is made of leather, be it shoes, be it handbags, the leather jackets that we so love, will be charged Export and Investment Promotion Levy as 20% of customs value during importation. Also, the bill proposes a 20% levy on footwear. And these actually, the tariffs captured right there are for all types of shoes. Every type of shoe will be subject to these Export and Investment Promotion Levy. Again, this time round, the manufacturers of alcoholic beverages have seen quite items that they deal with affected by the changes that are being proposed through this finance bill. And here we are seeing denatured ethyl alcohol, 3% of the customs value, rum and other spirits, 3%. Again, vodka, 3% is the proposals to have this levy paid. This levy is actually aimed at promoting local investment within the country. So the wish would be to see, as the importers pay more, are we promoting the local manufacturers directly? Can we see a concerted effort on that arena to ensure that as we discourage the importation, we are seeing industries being actually established within the country? Again, organic service active products, and these are basically the items that we use to wash our bodies. They will be subject to this levy at 3%. Furniture of any kind, be it metallic, be it wooden, either for office use or to be used at home, will also be subject to this levy at 3%. Cooking stoves for liquid fuel. The government is keen on ensuring we achieve clean environment in line with the ESG provisions, just like the rest of the world. So as KPMG, we are proposing to have this levy on cooking stoves for liquid fuel actually deleted, because we believe this is the way we should be going as a country. We should encourage use of clean energy. And if I look at some of the companies that actually have been selling, or rather selling these facilities where Kenyans are able to cook using liquid fuel, I think it's been one of the areas where we are able to buy at cheaper prices and also achieving the environmental good impact that we require. So increasing the cost of importation of these goods, I think, will be counterproductive to the effects, or rather to the good impact we need to put back to our environment in line with the ESG agenda. So we are proposing to have this actually deleted and encourage the use of clean energy sources of cooking. Then we have the introduction of the eco levy. This is totally new in the finance bill of 2024. And most of the items that are affected in this schedule are goods that are electronic in nature. So the government here is looking at the environmental impact of these items, which would say it's a good move in line with the ESG agenda and the move all over the world to have everyone ensure that they are living the environment better. So the government is looking into ensuring that the items that actually are polluting the environment are charged a levy that the government is able to use or utilize to clean after them. So amongst the items is the laptops that we use, their phones, their parts and accessories, telephone lines, and also the smartphones that we use. So, and the eco levy is not just on imported goods, it is also affecting goods that are actually manufactured locally. And we are in the move to ensure that we encourage local manufacturing, and especially we saw last year the government proposing duty remission for smartphones, which we are yet to see through the Gazette notice for East Africa, whether the same will be actually maintained. So we are encouraging manufacturing. Again, we are introducing new taxes on the same. Again, motor vehicles are being affected left, right, despite us needing to move, be able to move, and also encouraging the use of clean energy. I believe we are encouraging manufacturing of electric cars. So pneumatic tires, whether new or used, will be charged this levy. Diapers for babies and adults will also be subject to this levy because of the environmental impact. Dry cells that we use in our torches back home and also in radios, electric accumulators and plastic packaging materials will also be subject to excise levy. Majorly, it's aimed at ensuring that we achieve the goals in line with ESG, in line with ensuring that we are able to secure the environment that we wish to live in the future. As KPMG, we are proposing to have the rates that are proposed to be changed to a percentage, because when you look at some of the items, actually the proposed rate per item, you find that it could be higher than the cost of the item actually. For example, parts and accessories of machines of automatic data processing machines. I truly believe there are some minor, small items that could be of a lesser value than 98 shillings per unit. So we are proposing to have this changed from specific to an ad valorem rate or a percentage of the value of the goods. Again, also to align with the common external tariff, some of the items may not be, the SI unit is not actually in pieces, but also in kgs. So either to align with the CET or actually have the same as a percentage of the value of the item. So those are the proposed changes under Miscellaneous Fees and Levies Act. I'll take the questions at the end, and thank you so much for your time. Back to you, Rose.
All right, thank you so much, Justinetta. I was actually, I think somebody, Ben Roberts had asked a question, for example, on the eco levy. We're not seeing where the funds will be designated, and we can talk about this later, so that if the funds are being collected for remediation of the environment, then ideally they should be channeled to some fund that is regulated, so that they can be used for that remediation. So I think let's welcome our next speaker, who will be Steve Okoth. Steve, I hope you have now joined us to talk through the industries, some of the industry specific issues. Steve?
Okay, I'll highlight a few industry issues which affect specific industries. So let me see if I can share. Start with the multinationals.
We can't see. Were you sharing anything? It hasn't. It's not yet on the screen.
Sharing.
Okay, all right. Go ahead.
I'm sharing.
That's fine. Go ahead. And as we're waiting for Steve to share, I can see a number of comments, as I had indicated earlier, from Ben Roberts in terms of the eco levy, deepening the digital divide. Joseph Dirango saying, are we considering who will be most impacted by these levies, in as much as we're aiming for ESG goals? A lot of this will be hard hitting to the people at the bottom of the ranks. Are these considerations being fronted even as we seek to align with the proposals? And then also Peter saying, don't you think that too much levy, maybe too many levies will impact the economy negatively? Steve, do you want to go ahead if you're not able to share your slides?
Just sharing shortly.
All right, no problem. So, so that's part of the reason why we definitely need to make sure that our input is our submissions are made to Parliament. And there was something that Gilna had said earlier, which is really, really important, especially from an industry level. If you look, let's say, for example, at the issue of bread. So bread will be impacted by the moving it from zero rating to exempt. So that will be the first impact. Then it will also be impacted by the fact that there's 25% excise duty on oil. So, and then also the fact that there's a 2.5% levy that is on motor vehicles used for transport. So what we actually need at KEPSA is really a very specific analysis that can actually show that if bread today is retailing, let's say at 80 shillings or whatever it does for about a 400 or an I don't have the specific numbers, of a 600 gram of loaf, what will that price look like after all this has been incorporated? So that you're able to then go, even as we're making these submissions to Parliament, we're going with very specific analysis that says today bread at a 600 grams is at maybe 80 shillings. Once you load all these different levies and removing some of the zero rating to making it exempt, then bread is actually going to move up to maybe 100 shillings or whatever that new price might be. Because when we're able to make a better argument when we have specifics, as opposed to say the price is going to go up, it's going to affect the people at the bottom of the pyramid, it's going to affect everybody. But when you have very specific data in terms of what that impact is going to be, then we're able to make a better case. So part of what we're requesting in the next, I would say today is Thursday, by tomorrow, is to be able to provide us with some of these data and some of these proposals so that we can incorporate all of these for submission. I think the submission is on Monday, 27th. Sorry, I think I'd said tomorrow, but I believe it's 27th of May. Steve, over to you. All right, Steve, if you're not yet ready, I think, oh, there you are. Go ahead.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see it. Go ahead, Steve. We can see your screen.
Okay. So I'll go to the key to the industries that have been affected, and I'll just take 10 minutes. And these are just the critical implications of the bill if it is passed into law. So the first one is multinationals. So the key thing to note is that the transfer pricing regime is being expanded. Kenya is adopting the international tax developments that have been taking place at the OECD level and the discourse at the international level. So we are KRA will now, if this bill is passed, be able to actually enter into advancing agreements with taxpayers, multinational entities, or even local entities that have transactions with the sister companies in preferential tax regimes like EPZs or SEZs. So advanced pricing agreements is a deal that you have with KRA as to what methods will be applicable in relation to your transactions, and this is really a welcome move. So this is one of the implications that is coming in. We are having the minimum top-up tax that is coming in for multinationals that have over 750 million euros or turnover. If the income of a particular entity, which is part of a multinational entity, is taxed at less than 15%. So we are also seeing the significant economic presence tax is being proposed by the government. So this will affect the digital economy players that earn a significant proportion of their income from consumers in Kenya through the digital space. And the 20% of their turnover will be deemed to be profit, and then that will be taxed at the normal rate of 30%. So these are some of the changes that are coming in. There is a refinement of a definition of related parties, and also there is a clarification on exemption of donor-funded projects. So these are some of the critical changes that will affect multinationals. I've already mentioned about the significant economic presence tax. Now the digital service tax is being increased to 5% from 1.5, and many players are now being brought under this particular ambit. Digital marketplace has been expanded in terms of definition to include things like taxis and generally selling anything through the digital interface, including property selling or marketing of services online. So anything that is being traded in the online space is being brought under this in taxation. So the digital sector is a critical area it looks for the government, and this is going to be so the players in this sector need to really know that really they are going to be impacted. The public sector, we have already mentioned about the motor vehicle tax, which is going to affect the insurance companies. It might reduce appetite for taking up insurance. It might reduce appetite for actually driving vehicles for some people. And players in this sector have already raised a concern about this. They don't want to be the appointed agents for collection of these motor vehicle taxes. So insurance players in terms of motor vehicle policies really are concerned about this, and it is likely to have implication in terms of appetite for their product. So this is likely to be big. Supply of goods to them to public entities, government agencies, county governments, national government, parastatals, agencies, or if you supply goods, then upon payment, 5% will be withheld automatically. So this then, for those who are supplying goods of low margins, then this is something to work around and see what's the implication on that on the bottom line. The finance sector, quite a bit of changes here. First, we know that this sector has largely been exempted from VAT, or the products in this sector are largely exempted from VAT. But we are now seeing a proposal of bringing a significant package of their services, of their products, into the VAT regime. So telegraphic money transfer services, FX transactions, check handling and processing, assignment of debt for consideration, and so a number of fees that they earn is likely to become more expensive because of the charge of 16% of VAT. There is the elimination of exemption of listed securities from income tax, except for the ones which are currently listed. And so for long-term bonds, the rate of tax is going to be at 5%. So this also is critical for the sector. Manufacturing, we all know that Kenya has badly handled the manufacturing policy since 2019. The fiscal policy relating to this sector has been badly mismanaged. There has been a lot of guesswork, and this guesswork has led to massive drained, the sector has not grown. And it's not just fiscal policy or tax policy, but other issues as well. And so we are seeing there are attempts to correct, but still it's far from this. I saw CAM the other day launched a paper that really criticized this particular bill. So we are really not getting the manufacturing sector taxation correct. And these are some of the changes that are still going to have implication. Proposal for taxation of bread, items of public or plastic, some raw materials. So these are some of the things that that are affecting this sector. Excess duty on clinker, a number of items of raw materials being brought to taxation. There are some changes some attempts to remove things from the export and investment promotion levy, but it is not much. The beneficiaries will basically be the steel industry and the craft paper industry, but still many products have been brought under that particular tax, and so the manufacturing sector really has a lot to be concerned about, and really have to play an active role in lobbying. In my own personal and professional view, I think the sector has not been very aggressive in terms of lobbying. Maybe aggressive, but not as smart as it should in terms of lobbying. The players in this sector really need serious dialogue with MPs, and not just by presenting memorandums at the public finance, meetings, when people present this memoranda. They really need to play a very active and intimate role in terms of lobbying. Otherwise, I mean, we've seen like the paint industry. I saw the statistics. Kenya's production has slumped by 30% purely because of tax policy. So if the government does not understand the concerns of the industry in good time, then we are likely to see quite an erosion of productivity, of profitability, and even viability of certain subsectors. Construction sector and real estate, this exemption from VAT of goods supplied for the construction of specialized hospitals, this is to be removed. Then there are many items, many construction materials that have been brought under the export and investment promotion levy, sinks, basins, many items of many products used in the construction sector have been brought under that levy. The gaming sector, again, just like the manufacturing, we've really not gotten the science of taxation of this sector correct. This is from 2019. We've had a slump in this sector, and actually in 2019 we had an almost near total collapse of tax collection from this sector because of a number of factors, some of which were not serious. For example, political concerns or something like that. They were basically not serious, or of ambition, thinking that you can collect tax beyond the Laffer curve. You can break the Laffer curve, but this taxation is a science. You have a curve where there is an optimal taxation rate, and after which you are having declining revenues. So the optimal taxation of this sector, according to the science of it, which has been benchmarked internationally, is to have a flat tax on GGR. It will be between 15% and 30%, but the optimal is around 22%. And that will yield the most tax to the government. This has been tested and has been presented to the government, but it is still not acceptable as of yet. So the maximum taxes that were collected in this sector were in 2017 and 2018 and part of 2019. After the tax changes took place in 2019, there was complete collapse of tax collection in the sector. And then there was an attempt to recover the sector by reversing some of those changes, but the reversal has not been complete, and there has been a struggle in terms of understanding how to tax this sector. It has been a big problem, and you can see they actually want to bring VAT onto these services, and an additional 15%. 50% excise on advertisements targeting this sector. So we have a long way to go in terms of explaining the optimal tax policy for the sector. This one and manufacturing are dear to heart, and we've seen loss of jobs, loss of businesses, loss of taxes. I mean, it has not been properly done, and there has been lack of fidelity to proper principles of taxation for the sector. Now, energy and mobility, also we are speaking from two sides of the mouth. The government is driving the climate agenda, but we are seeing that is not being reflected in fiscal policy proposals here. The exemptions for batteries, for electric bicycles, electric buses, is being reversed, and they are being taken to standard rated. Bioethanol vapor is being taken exempt from zero rated. This is a critical raw material for making the cheap. I think cocoa is already supplying 1 million households. It's only one player, but it's a potential sector that can provide a very efficient, cheap and clean energy for the lower lower bracket of the market. If you can see that this can have a significant implication in terms of reduction of reliance on charcoal, but the fiscal policy is not reflecting that ambition. A number of items of locomotion motorcycles are also being brought under the Export and Investment Promotion Levy. In the agriculture sector, raw materials being used to manufacture or to make pest control products is being from zero rated to exempt. So it means they'll be more expensive by approximately 10%. And that also does not sit well with the standard national policy on agriculture. But we can see it is one of the items here. Micronutrients, foliar feeds, and biostimulants are being brought to the standard from standard rate to exempt. So those are some of the changes. There are changes in terms of which are affecting the logistics sector. Paper and packaging, I had mentioned earlier that there is a little bit of relief of export and investment promotion levy. It's difficult to pronounce because it's actually not promoting exports or promoting investment, but it is a levy. The reduction to 3%, and some other items of paper are also being brought under this particular tax regime. Remember, craft paper, these kinds of paper are very critical in the cost profile of a lot of items which are imported, or because paper is used as a packaging component of many imported products. So this really has an important implication. Part of the reason for slump in the construction material sector was because of paper used for packaging, cement and other items went up, and this really affected the cost profile of those products, and really affected the industry. There was a slump in demand, so it's quite an important item in terms of its implication to other products. So yeah, the steel product items of steel is there is relief proposal to exclude this from export and investment promotion levy, some billets, but then other items are also being brought under this regime. All furniture items are to be brought under the 3% export and investment promotion levy. Then for office items, computers, and basically a lot of office electronics and equipment will be attracting what is called eco levy, and many products are brought under that kind of proposal. So these are some of the key issues affecting specific industries. Back to you, Rose.
Thank you so much to all our presenters today morning. Dennis, Patrick, Gilna, Josinetta, Steve, for some of those very detailed presentations. Clearly, as you can see, there's a lot of disconnect between some of the policies that have been put in place and the actual taxes that should go to, or the revenue raising measures that should go to support those policies. And you find that some of the revenue raising measures will actually be totally maybe a deterrent in terms of achieving some of the policies. So I think let's go ahead. I can see quite a number of questions. Maybe I'll just go ahead and just look at some of those questions that are in the chat. The earmarking of the eco levy into the recycling circular economy. Definitely, we've not seen that at the moment, and maybe as either Josinetta or Steve, you can comment on whether that will require another piece of legislation to make sure that it gets earmarked, or does it just go into the general consolidated fund the same way the housing levy is going into the general consolidated fund at the moment? I think I'd raise the comments on the fact that the eco levy is also going to deepen the digital divide, and whether also the consideration, and I'd given the example of, for example, on some of the items like bread, how the multiplicity of the changes, including the 2.5 motor vehicle levy, will have an impact on that price. And then I think there was Maureen who says that both the VAT and excise tax are consumer taxes, so they can't have both taxes on the same product. This is double taxation. And of course, a good example of that is on the banking charges, forex charges, and all that already have excise at, is it 15% at the moment? And there's a proposal to add VAT on top of that. But Maureen, I have to tell you, you cannot say never or cannot in Kenya when it comes to revenue raising. There's a lot of things that before we would have said never, but we're actually seeing those. Joel Mutai talks about the agricultural pest control products moving from zero rating to exempt. Of course, this means that they'll be more expensive to farmers, which will also continue to make our agricultural products quite uncompetitive when we compare them to our neighbors, Uganda and Tanzania. And then eco levy on packaging plastics while paying levy on the same for extended responsibility regulations. I'm not sure. Okay. And then there's the issue of the TPA on whether it's not clear why the taxpayer should have a say on the commissioner's decision to abandon tax. Someone please clarify. Jilna, if you could take that one.
Thanks.
Then there's Peter. No, sorry, I'll give you a minute. Let me just finish on this. Peter talking about the motor vehicle levy, that it'll lead to low purchases of motor vehicles, low consumption of fuel and spares, low income to the insurance companies, and so forth. The motor vehicle industry is already ailing. So this will also have a negative impact of that. So it's on the verge of collapse again from Peter. Billy, thank you. And Kepsa, thank you for that. Ben mentioning that there's something the presenters missed on the impact of changes to the broadband excise duty. So Ben, if you can talk us through that. I'll give you a minute, Ben. And then there's what's the value delivered from the export promotion levy. Is the money put to good use? One of the challenges, even as we were presenting on the national tax policy, we had indicated that it's important to do an assessment of what are some of these taxes delivering in terms of yield. And I think we don't have that fund. As you could hear, some of taxes are introduced and within a year they've been scrapped, or within 2 or 3 years they've been scrapped or changed, and without having a proper evaluation of what is the yield of that particular tax. So I think let me allow Ben and then Joel, and then go back to Jilna to comment, and then we can pick more questions. We're making good time. We promised to stop at 11:30 and it's 11. Ben Roberts, please unmute yourself, and then Joel.
Thanks, yeah. So Jacinta presented a slide on the excise duty where she showed the fact that you're no longer going to be able to deduct excise duties in manufacturing. But in the same clause in the Act, it also mentions that they're doing the same thing with excise broadband duty. So it means that people who are selling broadband will no longer be able to deduct excise duty on broadband. Now, that duty is also proposed to go up from 15 to 20%. So let me explain how this works. Right? So in the world of broadband internet, you have bigger providers like Liquid, Safaricom, Airtel, Tcom, who effectively are wholesalers, and they sell bandwidth to people on a wholesale basis as well as to consumers. So it's well known Safaricom sell bandwidth to consumers, Liquid do too, but we also sell to other people on a wholesale basis. So we charge excise duty on that broadband at 15%. At the moment, then other ISPs, internet service providers who use that broadband, are able to claim that 15% back offsetting against their own excise duty. But that's being abolished in the same clause as the one about manufacturing deductions. So this means that if you get your internet from an ISP, such as Poa Internet or one of these local guys, the price of your broadband could go up by as much as 30 to 40%, because they're no longer able to deduct that input cost. That input cost is going up from 15 to 20 anyway, and then they're having to put another 5% on their output cost and VAT on top of that. So it's really making a very big impact as the consumer price of broadband at a time when the government wanted to invest in infrastructure to achieve the digital superhighway project, which, that 100,000 kilometers of fiber the government wants to be built should be about $1 billion of investment into the country. But in the meanwhile, they're making the product, the end product, which is broadband, making it much more expensive to consumer, and therefore will decrease the market demand from the people, for the product, and those people who expect to invest in it will have a less of a case to invest.
Thank you for that, Ben. So one of the things I'd request you, Ben, is if you can do an analysis of what you expect from this multiplicity of taxes that broadband, let's say if you're talking about 1 MB or 100 MB or whatever, will go up by as a result of this different, loading VAT, increasing the excise duty and so forth. I think it's important that we have those numbers when we go to Parliament, because if you don't have those numbers, we're then just having a general conversation to say that this is going to go up, and yet numbers that would say, okay, this is a current price. If you're going to load up, the excise rate and plus VAT, this is what we estimate that price of, let's say, 10 MB or 100 MB will go up by, or broadband will go up by. I think it's very important that we have that information in terms of specifics.
Yeah, we'll do. Yeah.
All
But
right,
it's not per MB. It's all your broadband bill will go up by between 7 and 30%, depending on whether you're buying it from a tier 1 provider or an ISP. Right? So,
Okay.
So it depends who you're buying it from, but it negatively impacts those ISPs who are the effectively tier 2 providers, because they're buying from a wholesale provider. So they will be impacted more. So your broadband will go up at least 30% if you're buying from them. No matter what you're spending now, it's going up by 30%.
Okay.
It's pretty simple. Yeah.
All right. So we'll get that data from you, and Joshua, just make sure we capture that when we're doing our submissions. Joel.
Thank you very much, Ross. And I just want to make a comment on two things. The one is agricultural pest control products. Of course, it has been captured in terms of raw materials. That is item number 16 that was deleted, the paragraph number 16 that was deleted. But they also proceed to delete the product itself from zero rated to exempt. So I think that provision should be captured as well. And I've noted that they have also actually recognized the mosquito repellents as a very important public health component for malaria and the others. But I want to say that if the zero-rate pest control products as all, then we shall be covering everything, because there are other public health products that are just basically pest control products. But if you single out mosquito repellent, we have products that are used for control of other the public health, including the mosquitoes, that are actually not necessarily mosquito coils. So we have actually made a package and we have submitted to KEPSA, and maybe it was yesterday evening, so maybe those can be captured well. I also want to clarify the issue of the eco-levy that mentioned on the chart, that already anybody bringing in any products, packaging or plastic and all that, there is a new regulation that requires them also to pay a levy in terms of what we call extended responsibility provisions. And therefore, that will look like a double kind of levies if we can also have a levy on plastic packaging, and it will actually be very detrimental to the industry. So those are the two items I wanted to clarify, but the details are already submitted to KEPSA. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Joel. Gilna, can we go to you, and then I can see Eugene. So Gilna and then Eugene, please.
Thank you. Thanks, Chair. And yes, Joel, the comments will be incorporated. I think we have not had a chance to see them, so that's why it was not part of this spec. So once they start coming in, the overall pack shall be obviously incorporating your comments as well. On the issue of this, the abandonment of taxes by the commissioner. So the only reason what we are saying is currently the way it is, it's actually on the commissioner to to waive that or abandon the recovery of taxes. So what we are saying is give us the power to also apply as taxpayers, because sometimes you might be in a gray area where we don't know what has whether it's payable, it's not. There are times when the law is quite gray and we're not sure. So allow us to come and make this application to the commissioner for us to now go and tell him, please waive that part and start, from abandon those taxes. And it's just making a plea. So that's all we're saying. It's good to give ourselves that room for, making a plea, if you know what I mean. So just to ensure that the taxpayers have some element of comfort rather than completely just being, it's for the commissioner to determine. And obviously, as we all know right now, the commissioner is not even going to waive a shilling past 30th June, once the penalties and interest waiver is over. After that, we are at the mercy of the commissioner. So this is just to give comfort in these hard times to taxpayers. Should there really be a problem, they can also come forth and make an application, which the commissioner can determine. Thank you, Chair. I think the chair has dropped off. In Eugene, you had your hand up.
Yes, I did. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for the very informative presentations and the call. I think there were two issues I wanted to highlight. For those who don't know me, I'm Eugene from Coca-Cola. So I think the first is the eco levy. I think it's been flagged by a couple of people, but it'll have extraordinarily wide-ranging impacts. And I think in terms of numbers, I think the Kenya Association of Manufacturers is putting some numbers together. So I don't know if the team from KEPSA is able to liaise with the team from CAM and see if they'll be able to share those numbers, because there are a lot of industries impacted. There are a lot of manufacturers impacted. And plastic packaging is prevalent across a number of areas. Food and beverage packaging, fertilizer packaging. It'll make the cost of fertilizers more expensive. It'll make the cost of soap more expensive. It'll make many things more expensive. And I think it's worth pointing out that the levy itself is more expensive or higher than the raw material. So you're in effect more than doubling the price or the cost to manufacturers. The second thing I'd like to point out about the eco levy is it really hampers the implementation of the Sustainable Waste Management Act of 2022, which provided a legal framework and foundation for the waste management industry in the country, which employs well over 150,000 people, both formally and informally. There are recyclers who've made significant investments into this market around the ability to recycle various types of materials and for use in other things. And a lot of manufacturers are putting in capabilities to utilize recycled materials. So this levy would put that into significant danger. And it's an emerging sector of the economy, and circularity is a principle that is enshrined in that legislation, and this levy goes against that. And then the third thing is it goes against good tax policy, the imposition of the levy, because there's a lack of justification and there's a lack of data. So why are these products being targeted? Do they have some significant impact on the environment? A lot of these products are recycled or reused. That's not factored in here. So, it might be worth telling the government to maybe take this out of this year's bill and do what they did with the alcohol and tobacco industry last year. Let's do a study. Let's understand the problem. let's understand what the levy is trying to do, and then utilize that study to see, what is the appropriate measure here. As I said, there's already the Sustainable Waste Management Act in place, and that is having an impact. Is an eco levy needed on top of that, or is an eco levy needed for specific products which are not recyclable, or don't have a recycling market in Kenya? So from a tax policy perspective, the eco levy is very much putting the cart before the horse. If anything, the next step should be to study the issue rather than impose a levy out of the blue, which is, as I said, on some of these products higher than the cost of the raw material. The second thing I'd like to point out is in the Tax Procedures Act, the proposal to amend Section 42 by deleting paragraph E, subsection 14. This would empower the commissioner to disseminate agency notices even in instances where a taxpayer has contested an unfavorable ruling. So in short, if you lose a case at TAT or the High Court, even while you are filing your appeal or have given notice of your intent to file an appeal, KRA can attach an agency notice to your bank. So essentially, your funds could be frozen. It is no secret that there are many, many, many companies in this country who have ongoing tax litigation and tax issues before the TAT and High Court. This could have a significant effect on many of us who have, significant sums under litigation or under dispute. And you could imagine what it could be like if, you lose a case at TAT, you lose a case at the High Court. You file your intent to appeal, but those funds are still, your working capital is locked up because an agency notice has been attached to that. So I think, I'm not a lawyer, but I do think it does impede the right to appeal of a taxpayer in terms of an ongoing case, and it impedes the judge's ability to put stay orders in, because essentially, again, you would be putting the cart before the horse in that notice. And for many of us, it could lock up a significant amount of working capital to the point of endangering businesses as a going concern, considering some of the size of some of the cases that are currently before the courts and the TAT. So those are just the two things I wanted to flag. I think they're included in the submissions that we made to KEPSA. But as I said, on the eco levy, it's worth liaising with the Kenya Association of Manufacturers because I think they are putting some numbers together.
Thank you. Well noted. Thank you so much, Eugene. That's very informative. And yes, we will be, I'll be getting in touch with CAM as well and asking them for their submissions so that we can see if there's anything in terms of numbers we can align and ensure we are going together as a lobby group, on the same. As you said, they have the statistics at hand. So that will be pretty useful as well for our submissions, for beefing up our submissions. Any other comments? The issue on VAT refunds, yes, we will be putting the withholding VAT credits, we will be putting, because it will now be subjected to refunds, that means audit. Yes, and more compliance in terms of, I agree with the agency notices, yes, there will be an issue there. I think the youth motor vehicle industry comments will also be factored in. Peter, thank you so much. We shall be bringing that in. Any other comments? I'm just waiting for Chair. She's dropped off. There was a connectivity issue, so I'm just waiting for the Chair to come in. She's here. Sorry. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Jonah, for holding fort. Any other comments? I can't see any other hands up. Maybe I'm trying to go. Maybe we do have quite a number of people in the room. I do not see any other hands up. So shall we conclude that nobody else has a comment? And in that case, I'm just going to encourage anybody who has not yet submitted their. Okay, Jonah, do you want to say something before? Go ahead, Jonah.
Thanks. I think I just want to say that we're gonna be obviously compiling all this more, enhancing them in a better format and more, I think, with more information. So anyone who has anything, please just send that across. Specific industry ones, the general ones will capture in more detail. But if you have any specific industry ones, we can also look into those, and we'd appreciate, obviously we'll be working with CAM, but that's manufacturing. But any other industries, remember, if you have any statistics at hand, it would be useful for us to incorporate those in our submissions. Thank you.
Thank you, Gilna. Judith Kirago, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much, Chair. I appreciate this session, this meeting, and all the speakers who were there this morning. Steve talked a lot about gaming, and I appreciate that. He actually was right on point. Last year, we submitted a study that was done in the gaming sector. He's aware of it. And I think this year, we also have another study, which we are also going to present to the lawmakers. But it's true that there's a slump in the sector. And in fact, last year we had two big major players in the industry exiting the country. And this year we have another one. So that is going to be a major blow in terms of taxes, especially the taxes that the big boys actually contribute to the exchequer. I appreciate the fact that you've still encouraged us to submit our presentation. I think the excise tax is being proposed to go up from 15% to 20%. And also the gaming tax, I've seen that it's being proposed to go from 15% to 20%. And that's going to really hit the sector. And those are the two areas that are mainly affecting us. About the VAT, the initial draft was proposing VAT on gaming, but on this particular, the final draft that went out, I've really perused it, and I've seen that they've actually removed the VAT on gaming, though I will go through again with a fine-tooth comb. But all in all, I just want to appreciate KEPSA and the presentation that Steve did. There was one by one of the initial ladies. I missed the initial her contribution, but I came on board when she was talking about the 2 million fine, and she was talking about it being also, affecting betting, gaming, and lotteries. And I might have missed exactly how it's going to affect the gaming sector. And I would appreciate maybe a recap on that, if it's possible, so that we can also advise our members, because we might have overlooked or missed that particular point. Otherwise, thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Judith. I think, Gilna, you can respond on that, on the 2 million. I think you're the one who was talking about that.
Yes,
but Judith, what we can do, it's also important as we make this, I know you're going to make the presentations to the gaming industry associations or separately, but also we can also have the same presentations made through KEPSA, and specifically to have some of those companies that have exited the market or are looking at exiting, and if we might have any numbers in terms of what they were paying in taxes, so that we want to be able to demonstrate some of these things to the parliamentarians, that some of these taxes can then become detrimental to the industry as a whole. If you can share some of that specific data. Gilna, go ahead.
Yes, sorry, just 1 minute, Gilna, before you come on board. Yes, Chair, I will actually share the statistics, because the two who left last year were the big boy, top 5, and the one who's also leaving this year is also a big boy. We call them boys. So yeah, we will share the impact that their exit is bringing on into the country, and any other statistics from KRA, BCLB, and the industry as a whole, we'll share with you. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Gilna?
Thanks, Chair. Basically, the proposal is that where a commissioner, by notice in writing, were to require a person to integrate the electronic tax system, which is like the DMRS system, for the purposes of the submission of the electronic documents, including like your detailed transactional data in that manner. If you fail to comply with the notice, you commit an offense, and that will now lead to a penalty not exceeding 2 million for every month the failure will continue. So that is what the proposal is saying. So basically, where they require you to integrate the electronic tax system for these so-called special people, I would say, that's where if you fail to do so, then you'll be charged a penalty of 2 million per month. So what our proposal is that instead of doing 2 million, can we not propose a fee penalty of 100,000 per month? Because say they apply to a certain gaming sector or an alcoholic for a company, and to integrate, then at least they have, and if they fail to comply, the penalty is not too steep. We have to comply, no doubt. And remember, this is just pilot. They've only started with alcohol and gaming, but because they were piloting on those two. We are still yet to see other players in the market also who are going to be on the same platform. So let's make the penalty for non-compliance a bit less steep, because sometimes it's just a matter of not knowing, it's just genuine error by a taxpayer, but yet the penalty is 2 million, which is rather steep, with no waiver in place again, as we have said. So those are the reasons we're saying just make the penalty a bit comfortable for someone to digest.
All right, thank you. I'd seen a comment from Victor, but maybe Victor, I can allow you to sort of give some closing remarks. So before I do that, I'd like to encourage anybody who has not submitted their input to make sure that those come into KEPSA, let's say by end of day today, because then tomorrow is already Friday, and we will then spend between Friday over the weekend compiling everything together. And as I said earlier, it's very important that you give us specific numbers. For example, Peter, in the motor vehicle industry, we've seen a lot of your comments on the chat, but it's important that you put it there. What does it mean if you have this 2.5% levy or some of the import taxes that have gone up? What does it mean to the price? If you're talking about the insurance industry or owners of motor vehicles, if let's say you're an industry that has maybe 5 trucks valued at a certain point, this is what your normal insurance would look like. And if you load up 2.5%, what are those numbers going to look like? So it's important that we have some specific numbers so that when we go to meet with parliamentarians, we're actually having a discussion on realities and not just conjectures in terms of saying, oh, it's going to go up, but we do have very specific numbers that we can share with them. Victor, did you maybe want to give some closing remarks? All right, I think maybe Victor might not be ready to do that. So allow me this opportunity to thank all of you for coming in large numbers. My apologies that the initial Zoom line was only up to 100%. I'm sorry, 100 individuals, but I'm hoping that with a YouTube link, a number of you have been able to follow up on that. I can still see a number of comments that are coming in through the chat. We will pick all those comments and then just make sure that they're incorporated, but please make sure that you include your comments.
No, I want to request for 1 minute for you.
I'm sorry? Somebody seems to be talking. Okay. All right. So I think that is it. Thank you so much for being here in large numbers, and really looking forward to getting your submissions so that we can compile those and share those by Monday. And then it will allow us to go and then make a presentation on on behalf of all KEPSA members. Thank you, and have a good morning.
Before you leave, Chair, I want our Chair PPD, Madam Doris Olutende, to give the closing remarks. Sorry for that.
Okay, thank you. No problem. Go ahead.
Good morning, all. On behalf of KEPSA, we just want to say thank you very much for having made time to participate in this very important discussion. As the chair guided, we're going to be compiling all the positions that and submissions that we have received for purposes of coming up with a KEPSA position for submission as expected. And equally, we will be participating in the oral submissions on the 3rd of June as slotted for us by the communication we've received from government. And so we're looking forward to more submissions in case one was not able to give their submissions in this session. Please feel free to reach out to us through Joshua or the chair. We're happy to compile everything, and we should be able also to share with everyone the final position that we shall have compiled. Thank you very much once again. Over to you, Chair.
Thank you. I think the meeting is over. You can leave at your own pleasure or as soon as the administrator closes the session. Thank you so much. Much appreciated. And thank you to the team of presenters. I know it's not an easy thing to do to be able to do the analysis and to come and make the presentation. So thank you so much to the task force at KEPSA for putting together that presentation. Thank you.
You all, and have a good day.
Good day, all.